This is the AI tool I used to build the $10,000 mobile app without writing a single line of code myself. And it's kind of funny because it's just a simple AI wrapper. And an AI wrapper is a concept where you grab an already existing tool, add some features to it, package it up, and ship it out as your own standalone product. But what people don't realize is that AI is evolving so fast that when you do create an AI wrapper, it creates a lot of value because you're showing the average consumer how to use a specific tool for a specific outcome that they're looking for. And in this way, your AI wrapper tool can become an industry leader overnight. On the App Store alone, for example, there are over 50 AI video wrapper tools that are generating over $10,000 a month. And all of this is verifiable on websites like Sensor Tower, for example. And even one of my Academy members, Oscar, grew his AI video app, Clone AI Studio, to over 5,000 users. And today, guys, I'm gonna show you an AI video powered app that I reversed engineered using the most powerful AI video model, WAN 2.2 Animate, which allows us to take any piece of content and restructure it using AI influencers. Back in the early vibe coding days, developing mobile apps was quite difficult, but in this video, I'm gonna take you step by step, showing you the exact blueprint on how I came up with this idea, built it out, added Stripe payments, and was able to ship it out to the App Store so you guys can do the exact same thing. Now, the app that we built today solves an actual problem that people that are developing AI videos experience right now, and that is creating consistent AI influencers that actually have proper body movement, proper lip movement, and proper facial expressions. And the WAN 2.2 Animate API allows us to do this. It allows us to turn this video that you see right here into an AI influencer. And that, as it stands right now, is not available on the App Store. It's only available on the web. And so for us to then package this software and ship it out as a mobile app creates a whole new list of possibilities for the average creator, because now they can just use their phone to film some content and immediately convert it to whatever influencer they want for whatever marketing campaign that they have. Now that we know the actual opportunity that we're building today, a brand new AI tool just reached the world and we are now going to wrap it and turn it into a mobile app. This is the 10-step application build out. I recorded the entire build out, but this is the 10-step process that I'm going to lead you guys down. So we're going to first start off with the prompt, then we're going to talk about the API keys, the Supabase database, how we're going to build out the pages, how we're going to actually integrate Subabase's sign up and sign in authentication, how we're then going to add the WAN 2.2 Animate to then store in a Supabase public bucket, and then we're going to redesign the app so it actually works properly. We're going to test and debug it, and then we're going to deploy it as our own standalone mobile app to actually scale to $10,000 a month. Let's dive into it with prompt number one. The point of prompt number one is always to give the agent as much information about the entire scope of your project. So in this prompt, I'm saying I am building a video to video AI mobile app that is going to be using the WAN 2.2 Animate API via the FAL API provider. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. The app needs to include a landing page that explains what the software can do, a pricing page, a sign up page, and we're going to use the Supabase database to build out the backend. I will give you the access to a brand new Supabase database for you to build out this app on top of, and we're going to give it the Supabase auth and all that fun stuff as well. So once we give the agent all of this information, we can either go ahead and send in the message, or we can add an MCP tool. And an MCP tool will just give our agent even more abilities to access our database and make all of these edits. Now for this video, guys, especially if you're a beginner, you don't need the Supabase MCP server to get you set up. But this is a reason why I do like Emergent, because to integrate your MCP server is actually quite easy. So we're going to now send in that prompt and we'll move directly into step two. We need to start giving it the API keys for our main feature. And so WAN 2.2 Animate has an API on FAL.ai. And so on this platform, we are going to grab an API key by heading to the Manage tab, heading to the API keys section, and we're going to create a new key. And we're going to name this key something related to the app that we're building. And in this case, it's the WAN 2.2 Animate. Once that's ready to go, I'm going to click create key. And after the key is generated, guys, I'm just going to grab that API key. We're going to head back to our coding agent. And I'm literally just going to tell this agent, here is the API key that we are going to use for the WAN 2.2 Animate function. Once the agent has the API keys for the feature, we now need to give it all of the tokens and API keys for our database. And the agent also knows that. It told us about it as its step 2. Instead of walking you through a boring tutorial of how to get the API keys or whatever, I'm just going to list off all of the Supabase keys that you need. So you're going to need the service role key, you're going to need the API key, you're going to need the URL of your database, and potentially you're going to need an access token if you're using the MCP server. If not, you can also just use the anon public key and then you're good to go. Once you have all of these keys, once again, all you have to do is take it to your coding agent and give it to him. So like literally just say, this is the project ID, this is the API key, this is the access token, and the agent will grab those keys and it'll put it in this thing called the env file. The env file is where all of your secrets and all of your keys for your application will live. So it's like a secure place. Once your coding agent has the API keys for the feature, has the API keys for the database, we can actually start building out our app infrastructure. And so this is step 4, where we start building out the different pages. Now, the pages we want to mainly build out at the beginning is a landing page, a sign up page, and a dashboard where the user can actually interact with the feature. And so here I'm saying, let's build out the app infra, starting with the landing page, sign up page, and dashboard. Once the user is signed in, we will then go from there. So the next step from here, guys, is to actually test the sign up feature, because it has to be connected to your Supabase database for this to work. And so here we can see on the right-hand side, I'm testing in the sign in feature. I've then gotten an email confirmation, and we can see in the database here when we refresh that the user was signed in with an authentication. And so we can tell that all of that is working well, and we can move on to step 5. Now guys, step 5 is the hardest part of the entire app build, and that's because we're going to give our coding agent the instructions of how to actually make this API call. So what you're looking at on the screen is the foul.ai playground. And in this playground, we can actually test the feature that we want to integrate into our app. In simpler words, what you just saw on the screen is what we want to have on our phone. And once we can do that, we can tell that it's working. And so once I found the exact feature that I wanted to add, I head over to the documentation, because this is the information that we can feed our coding agent. So I copy that URL and I'm giving the agent in the chat the link to that URL so that it can use the internet and search the docs, and it'll get all of the information it needs to actually make that API call. And another good point here is that when the agent does something that actually worked, you want to let it know that it worked before you moved on to the next step. So I said, great, I was able to test the Supabase auth sign-up flow and it worked seamlessly. Now let's work on the FAL API integration. And this lets the agent know that we need to move on to another task. And then I start explaining that this is the FAL API call that we're going to work on first, blah, 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 blah. And then I gave it the URL link of the documentation. But we're going to take it another step further just to guarantee that this coding agent knows exactly what we want it to do. And so I'm going to head back to foul.ai, and this time I'm going to scrape all of the information that is on the documentation. So this is going to explain how to make the API call, how to get the response from the API call, how to store the videos when we get it back from this software, and how we can display it to our user. And so this is a lot of information, as you guys can see here, and I'm just going to literally scrape it, and then I'm going to head back over to the emergent agent, and I'm going to give it to him. So you can just see that really quick. I'm just going to pop over, I'm going to paste that in, and then we're just going to click enter. Right, so now the agent is going to go ahead and start integrating that API call, but it does get a little bit harder because we have to do something with the files that are being submitted, right? So when a user uploads a video file, like you're seeing on the screen here in the playground, that video file needs to be what's called publicly viewable or publicly accessible. And as we can see here in step 4 of the API call, if it's not publicly accessible, then the call won't work. And so that is when I ran into a roadblock, and I was like, what do I have to do to make my videos that the user is submitting publicly accessible? And this is a great point to teach you guys about prompt engineering and what I do when I don't understand something. So I just went back into this chat and I asked the agent what it thinks it should do. And so the full prompt that I said here was, we need to turn their video file and image files into publicly accessible files. What is the best way you think we can do this? Through Supabase, through Cloudinary, or maybe something else? And then here we get the agent response, and it gave us the exact answer we were looking for. It said Supabase, aka your database, is the best way to do this. And then it gave us 6 reasons why. And so after doing my research and after listening to the agent, I went, okay, we are now going to store the user submitted videos from the create form into this public bucket on Supabase. So the next step was to give the agent the go-ahead to build out the buckets inside of our database. And so the prompt I said here was, yes, please go ahead and build this out. We want the flow to be user uploads the video and image that they want to use for 1.2.2. They then click the generate button. The backend then sends that video and image to Supabase. Supabase converts those images and videos to publicly viewable URLs. Those publicly viewable URLs then get used into the FAL API call. And then once that API call is made, our entire workflow is finished and our main feature of our app is ready to go. Okay, so now the next part is actually designing the front end of the app to fit the requirements of the feature that we're making. So the feature that we're making needs to let the user submit a video and an image. And right now we can see on the front end that it's only really asking to either upload an image or record a video. But we want both of those options to be available at the same time. And so this new message actually solves that, right? So we want to create the form on the create page on the dashboard, and that form should just feature a video and image upload section followed by a generate button. And this will make it look exactly like that playground looks for the FAL API. And so once the agent finishes that update, we can now see that the front end of the app is ready to submit a video and image to Supabase to actually make the API call work. So now guys, we've reached the point where we can actually test the feature. We've built out the Supabase database buckets. We have the FAL API keys. We have everything that we need essentially, and the front end can actually accept the video and images and all that fun stuff. And so now it's all about debugging. So when I go into debugging, even though I'm building out a mobile app, I open it in a web browser because we can access the developer tools. And to access the developer tools, you go into the top right corner of your browser. You want to click on the three dots. You want to want to scroll down to more tools, and that's where you'll find your developer tools. And so here we go. I'm just going to upload a video. I'm going to now grab an image, and we're going to send it in, and we could see that the developer logs isn't actually showing us any errors, but it doesn't look like it made the call either because the generate video button isn't showing anything. And so to get around this, I'm just sending a very simple prompt to the agent saying, when I tried to submit the video and the image, nothing really happened. And this is what the developer tools log told me. And this is the information that the agent needed to actually debug this problem and get to the next step. So after that prompt of debugging, the agent then hits us back of the new flow. So the video URI and image URI gets turned into a base 64. The base 64 then gets stored in the bucket, turns into a publicly accessible URL, and then that gets submitted to the API call. So it then asks me to try making the call again. And here we are going to test it one more time. And we're just going to go ahead and try it again. So we have the same video and image, and I'm going to click generate video. And this time we actually got some real error messages that we can use to send to our agent. So I'm just going to copy all of the developer tool responses there. And once again, I'm going to grab that response. We're going to bring it back to the agent, and we're going to tell it exactly what the errors were. The next point for you guys to, get better with your prompt engineering is when you send in these debugging messages, you want to actually look for what the agent is actually responding with. And so right here, we can say that the agent said that it found the problem. The router of the video submission had a /video endpoint when the endpoint should actually be /API/video/upload and process. Once it changed that, it then told me to check or try the feature one more time. Reloaded the page. We're going to go into more tools. We're going to go into developer tools. And this time it says processing, meaning that the first step of the workflow actually did work, where the image and video were sent to Supabase. But then we can see in the developer tools that the error is with the FAL API key. And so the only issue here was some formatting issues. So once again, I'm just going to copy the developer tool errors. I'm going to bring it back to the agent. But instead of just sending in the error message, I'm also going to let the agent know that at least the first part of that workflow worked, where it had to submit the image and video to the database. So it can stop worrying about that and start worrying about the new set of errors that we have in the workflow. And so that's what I'm doing here in this prompt. I'm basically saying, nice, when I submitted the content, the first step worked, but then we ran into this error, and I'm literally just copying and pasting in that full error message. Cool. So the agent responds here saying the FAL_API key is now loaded. So it was just a formatting issue, and it's just telling me to go ahead and test it out one more time. And so this is like the fourth time now that we are testing the main feature of this app, adding a video, adding an image. I'm gonna click generate, and this time it looks all good, and it actually sends us to the processing your video form. And so in my opinion, I thought that all of this was looking really good, but there was still one more thing that we needed to tweak, and that is the polling. So when you make this type of request, these type of AI models, they take 5 minutes, up to 10 minutes to generate these videos. And so our app needs to be checking the API provider until we get the video back. What I did to solve this is I went back into the Fal AI docs of this API call, and I found the portion of the code that says fetch request status. And this snippet of code is the snippet of code that we needed our agent to be using to keep checking when the video responded. And so all I'm doing here, guys, is I'm grabbing this snippet of code and I'm going to give the agent this information so that it now knows next time that we make a video, it should just continuously check until that video gets finished and then show it to our user. So in this prompt, I'm literally just saying this is the fetch status API call for this workflow. 5th time is the charm. We're gonna now add a video, add an image, the exact same thing that we have been doing every single time, and we're gonna click generate video. And this time, again, we're gonna wait to let it process. But when we look inside of the developer tools, we can actually see that it's navigating to the job status, and it's going to start polling that job status until we get the response. What we're gonna do is the exact same testing, but on the mobile side. So I'm going to just submit that same video of the TikTok dancer, and this time I'm gonna send in an image of a little robot, and I'm going to just click open and send those babies in. So here we have the robot image submitted now. We're gonna click generate video. And boom. So it says your video ready. If we go down there and we check it out, the character in the video has been completely replaced with the robot. So the 1.2.2 animate is now fully working inside of your app. And so in terms of the MVP and the features, you guys are ready to go. Now that you guys saw the legit end-to-end process of coming up with an idea and then putting it into your coding agent and building it out with all of the features, I actually now want to talk about the tactical game plan for you guys to make this a successful app. So the first point that we want to knock home here is the user experience, right? So the user experience essentially means that you're going to be grabbing someone that's non-technical and you're going to teach them exactly how to use this tool. And so on the page that shows the feature, you should have a full explainer that is actually going to walk them through how to use it properly. The goal of this type of app is to swap out the character in the video. And so the video itself needs to have, high quality resolution. It can't be too shaky. And the image needs to also match the video. And so you need to explain that to the consumer. And so that's one side. The other side is the actual margins. So you want to then do the calculation of how much these videos cost to produce and how much you can charge on top of that. And there's other ways that you can improve that cost by working with the team directly or by using like upscaler tools so you can create the video in lower resolution and then upload it and then have it like scaled up at a lower cost. But what I'm going to be doing for you guys is I'm going to be giving this entire code base to the No Code Academy so you guys can go in there, grab it, and actually start building on top of it from where we left off today, because this still took me like 2-3 hours, and if you guys can go in there and start building from here, it'll just save you a lot of time getting your product to market. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one.